Hey, good evening, TerrorPUP here, and having a little bit of difficulty. I don't have a cool intro like Keo does, so give me a second. Um, I will add them. I'm gonna change one thing because I don't like a big. Um, I can't change it now. That's fine. Anyway, thank you for joining tonight. My name's TerrorPUP. This is a live host. I got Keo on here. We're going to be discussing a few items. And with that, let me bring him on. And I'm going to let him pronounce his name because I'm dyslexic and I can come up with 1,000 pronunciations. So, all right. Keo, are you there?
What's going on, everyone? Thank you for having me on tonight.
Well, let me apologize. I was wanting to do this from my office, and I have a iMac that I put Fedora on,
Okay.
and I went to get everything working, and for some odd reason, it wouldn't recognize the freaking microphone.
That happens.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, not like 5 minutes before show, you know. So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
I got
That's why you always got to get started like an hour early just to make sure everything is up and up in case you need to make any adjustments.
yeah. Well, I went to the doctor last Thursday and they put me on some really tough antibiotics. And
Hmm.
about 12 o'clock, I was sitting here working on some stuff and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a nap. Next thing I know,
Right.
next thing I know, it's like 6 p.m. Okay. I went into my office, was working on a couple things for the show.
Hmm.
And then I looked up, you pinged me. It's like, remember tonight? And I was like, yeah. Oh crap, it's 8 o'clock. I need to go get some food. So we're not sponsored by them, but I went and got some DQ. And I apologize. Hey, calm down. It's going to be one of those nights. Fortunately, one of my neighbors has decided that, hey, we got leftover fireworks. We're going to fire them off tonight for some
That's good.
ungodly reason.
I wish I was there. I'd fire one right back at him. Sometimes you got to set the tone.
Yeah, well, hopefully the dogs won't be going off too much, but if you hear them, that's why. And really can't put them anywhere. So,
Right.
all right, guys. Appreciate everybody joining. Um, Tonight we're gonna have some fun with this. We do have topics. Me and Keo have not done a show in a while. In fact, I'm hosting this time. Normally, Keo, you host, and when I pinged you, I was like, "Hey, when are we gonna do a show?" You're like, "Okay, when?" So I got everything set up, and we're gonna be talking about uh, RockChip. It still needs to be discussed because the future of RockChip with small board computers is um, it really is a thing. Um, I haven't seen a lot of companies talk about it, but
Right.
this is going to affect people unless Armian decides, hey, we're going to take over where the Ubuntu developer Josh, he quit. Um, that's going to be interesting. But RockChip themselves, and we'll get it more in discussion. We'll hold off. Let's go over the other
Yeah. Well.
topics.
Well. Let me
Okay.
ask you: is Armbian as active as Ubuntu in terms of? I wouldn't. I guess in terms of social media, customer service, answering questions online.
Yeah, because they
Oh,
have
they are. Okay.
Discord. Yeah,
Okay.
their Discord channel's really busy. They have the forum where they, like people to go so they can document it and get more people involved. And Igor's Igor is also he's the lead developer of Armian. He's also very active on Facebook, which is surprising because a lot of developers, they don't like Facebook. So
Yeah.
it's kind of nice to see that. They actually print out a newsletter. They do big announcements when they do releases. So yeah, I'm going to have to say yes. They are
Okay.
very active. Okay.
Well, that's good to hear.
So all right. So we're going to deep dive into that. The next thing we're going to talk about is emulation on the Raspberry Pi. Keo has done a lot of great stuff with it. I'm going to let him showcase a lot of stuff. I was going to drag out a lot of old emulator stuff, Keo, like
Hmm.
like this.
Right.
But I think this will distract from the stuff that you've been doing, and I really want people to know about it. So I know we talked about that. So I'm not going to dig out like the 9 million uh, cases and stuff I got. And for those of you that don't know what that is, that's a red flag um, GPI case. It does look like a Nintendo Game Boy.
Okay.
It was very popular. They do have a model too, but I want to let you have that time to go over all this stuff and talk about some of the things you're seeing with our content creators as far as it comes with emulation. And then we will we'll discuss home labbing. I can bring up some screenshots and show people, and then we'll let you do that. And then if there's anything left you want to talk about, we can add another topic on it. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Let me play a video here while I'm talking. Let me see if it'll even play.
Okay. Cool. And
Give me a
let
minute
me go
here.
ahead and.
I didn't know you wanted me to showcase. Hope my thing didn't freeze up on me. I'm not sure if it'll play a video while I'm set up like this. But at any rate, one of the things I wanted to kind of cover is we as content creators, in terms of single board computer emulation, we definitely need to do better. I could probably tell you over the past 4 months, I would even say even the past year, because I spend most of my time testing, new images, new builds, and things that are coming out. And so one of the things that I've really noticed is that people are really quick to put out a video without doing any research. And, they'll make a claim, say something doesn't work, not really indicate that it's user error or that they're not really familiar with how an emulator works. They're not familiar with the build, but they'll give you the sense or impression that will curtail or get you to believe something is either better than something else or that it doesn't work. And I know you've seen a lot of the comments too that I've seen over the past few months as well. And, just really into that regard, I think people really need to do better because it leaves people confused. It'll think, hey, maybe another single board computer is better than a Raspberry Pi, or Raspberry Pi is better than another board if you don't have that full basic understanding of how something works. So, TerrorPUP, you've seen a lot of the comments that I've shown you, over the
Mm-hmm.
past several months. Give me 1 second here. I'm just pulling up my program. You've seen a lot of the comments that we've, talked about. Uh, I could tell you one interesting video that I've noticed, and it definitely brings a concern to me, is because I've seen content creators say, hey, look, this Raspberry Pi, you have to overclock it. And then in the video, the guy, his system resources only showed 30%. Like, how embarrassing is that to tell people something needs to be overclocked, and then you look at the board or this resource meter, and it only shows 30%. And everybody's commenting, nobody really, points it out. And so, another thing that I also noticed too is that this other particular content creator, someone who you would also know if I mention their name, has been reviewing single board computers longer than I have. And it was brought up in a discussion because they were asking me, why did the idle temps matter on a single board computer? Specifically, we're talking about the Ratsa X4. And so I know when the Ratsa X4 came out, for example, there were some concerns that it was overheating and that the thermal.
I'm not sure what's going on. 1 second. Keo, are you still there? Because it seems like I lost you. One second. Okay. His PC rebooted. All right, guys. So I hope people come in. I hope you guys watch. Sorry for chewing in the mic, guys. So all right. So while we're waiting on Keo to come back, let me just tell you guys that, and sorry for the motions in the background. You know, unfortunately, the camera angle is grabbing members of my household. So the person that you keep moving or seeing in the background is my son. But I just want to talk about. I got a few things that will be coming out. I got my first RISC-V PC. Well, not my first one that's actually working. This is the Banana Pi. Real nice. Okay. And looks really good. I love the case. Case is from UE2. And I've got a video almost done editing it. And I've been doing some other stuff. Actually, been working on my home lab a lot. And one of the things that I'm pretty proud of, and let me see, go ahead and get this queued up. All right, looks like Keo's back. And I got my webpage. Keo, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. I was just trying to start up that video, and I guess I had a conflict with whatever else I was running in the background.
It kept saying on my side something about Xstream needs to be enabled or virtual stuff. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I have a little broadcaster that allows me to show photos and videos and stuff at the same time in place of a camera. So,
Okay.
if they had a conflict, sometimes
Hey,
it has a conflict.
it wouldn't be not a problem. It wouldn't be a live broadcast if something didn't go wrong.
All right, they're on back. So yeah, pretty much what I was saying was I was getting questioned about the Ratchet X4 and particularly in regards to temperatures. Like, why are idle temperatures so important when you're reviewing a single board computer? And again, this individual has been reviewing more single board computers than I have, and I thought that was kind of shocking because for those of you who don't know, most single board computers run at a temperature of about 27 to 34 degrees Celsius. And in the realm of emulation, I can't think of TerrorPUP, maybe you know, which programs are the most demanding for a single board computer. I can think.
Video and audio. Okay.
Okay, so video, audio. You also have Bitcoin mining. You also have compiling emulators, and then of course you have emulators running actual gameplay like PS2 and PS3. I think those are the most demanding circumstances you can use on a single board computer. So the point being is when you're when you're running emulation, particularly for example the Rata X4, you always want to try to keep your idle temp as low. So that way, when you start to run something very demanding, you still have a lot of resources there. You still have some headroom, so that way you don't throttle. So a few of my buddies, they were running Batacera on an X4, came up to about like I want to say like somewhere between 90 to about 105 degrees Celsius, because after 105 degrees Celsius on x86 it starts to throttle. If you're using a Raspberry Pi 5, Orange Pi 5, anything after 80 degrees, typically it starts to throttle. So if you're trying to run a demanding application, you want it to perform, but you don't want to lose power. So for someone to question me about why the idle temps were so important, that told me that all their reviews have been pretty much flawed ever since they've been reviewing single board computers, because they never factored in that the OS, the operating system, or the kernel could have a drastic impact on performance. And so you always want to keep the idle temps as low as possible. And again, I go back to my Geekbench scores, as I've always shown off here on the channel, that Geekbench scores aren't exactly real world realistic. You want to test something from a realistic standpoint, because the OS is also determining the full performance of what you see on the single board computer. So it can either be good or bad. It's not inherently just the board itself, but it's also the OS. So you can have an OS that makes the board look good, or you can have an OS that makes the board look crappy. And if you're led to believe that the performance of the board, when you look at numbers or even bench test results, is a single board computer, you could be misled if you're not factoring in the OS or the optimization of the OS.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, okay. Well, we'll go ahead and continue this discussion. We'll make this first one. We'll swing back to the other two. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So okay, I noticed that one of the things you got working that I think is very impressive, especially on a Raspberry Pi with the Broadcom CPU, is you actually managed to get PlayStation 3 emulation working on it. Was that something easy? I mean, is that something anybody and his brother could just go download and install, and they'll be good to go?
Absolutely not. In fact, it's still challenging. I know the RCPS3 team, RPCS team, they got the emulator working from a desktop environment. However, you haven't seen any videos from like Batacera, Recalbox, or RetroPie. And in fact, we took their exact script that was made to work on the Raspberry Pi. We got it to work on Ultra. The day that I booted it up, it crashed Ultra. It broke it, because all the other links and everything in that particular front end and on that base were non-responsive after we tried to launch it. Happened several times, so the Supreme team had to modify it to get it to work. So even though that the PlayStation 3 team got it to work, it had it to be modified specifically for our front end and for Supreme Ultra to work on for RetroPie. So there was a modification done to that. I haven't done any videos on it. I have showcased it running just to launch and so forth, but I think it needs more resources than we've been led to believe, because I booted it up on the 16 gigabyte version, and when it was trying to compile, it pretty much used up all my RAM. So I've had it running just like the video launch screens and like the intro, but there hasn't really been too much success in terms of getting it to run.
Okay, wow. You kind of went to an area that I was going to ask you about. So you already got a Raspberry Pi 5 with 16 gigs of memory, and you couldn't get the the PlayStation 3 emulation on it. That to me sounds like it's more an issue with the CPU than with you know than with memory. Okay, since we're talking Raspberry Pi, and for those may or may not know, okay, Raspberry Pi is, um, it's an ARM-based computer. So when you're running Raspbian, or Ubuntu and all that, you have to
Right.
use chipset instructions that are written specifically for the ARM. Um, have you ever gotten the PlayStation 3 emulation working on any board that runs ARM technology?
No, because it's brand new. The
O-
emulator itself was converted over that day a few weeks ago. So
Okay.
that's a brand new emulator to ARM just in general. Before it was just made for x86.
Okay. So it's never ported over to like Mac then?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. Do you think that the part of the reason they brought it over to ARM technology is they want to get it running on the Mac? Because, Mac uses, what are they up to now? The M4 processor, which is, is ARM. They're no longer using Intel chips sets for quite a while.
Right.
And I know there for a while, if you got a Mac that was Intel based, you could play quite a number of games. And when they switched to the ARM, I kept trying to think, why are you doing this? But I guess it's because they wanted to be proprietary. But
Right.
okay. Well, okay, let's go back to the Raspberry Pi. What is probably the coolest thing you got working here lately that people don't know about? I know you've had a lot of videos. You're welcome to post the links to the videos in chat so people
Yeah,
can
sure.
share them. But what's some of the coolest things that you've gotten working lately on the Raspberry Pi?
We got full speed Wii, PlayStation 2. We got cloud gaming. We just started working on implementing PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Was it PlayStation Now cloud gaming on the Raspberry Pi 5? So that's something we've been slowly working on. We're going to start showing off some more x86 based games running as well. And, a few other little treats that, some of my Patreon seen lately.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to see if I can. I'm trying to give you more coverage so you can show off your the screen that you got going. So,
Oh, yeah, you want to see this. Oh, you want to see this.
all right, give me
I think
one.
all you have to do is just click on my name or whatever, and then it'll make me full screen or something.
All right, 1 second. Yeah, when I do that, it says remove. We don't want to do that. One.
Well, anyway, while you're doing that, I'll kind of go over it. If you guys can see it on the right side of your screen, we have, let's see, we have four different numbers here, starting from the top. Or actually, we'll start right there from the bottom. TerrorPUP, can you make those out? Those numbers right there?
Uh, yeah.
Okay, so I actually got the Raspberry Pi 5 16 gigabyte model about 3 weeks ago, right after it came out. Went over to Micro Center, grabbed one. We have three numbers down here at the bottom. We got 322,906, 321,917, and then we got 304,811, and then we got 842,1904. Now, you guys have been heard me preaching for the past few years. You know why I always talk about forget about Geekbench numbers. So, TerrorPUP, you see this
Hmm.
bottom number here? This was the first bench test that I ran. This
Right.
is the Raspberry Pi 5 16 gigabyte model right out of the box without any firmware updates, without any changes. Then I ran it again. I overclocked it. Actually, one of these overclocked it, not this one, but 321, 917. Ran it again. I think one of these is from desktop. The other one is from RetroPie. 304, 811. Now, why is this important? As I've always said, as you heard me say a few minutes ago, I do not just go by the board itself, the hardware, because if it was the hardware inherently, then these numbers wouldn't be so low. If it was just the hardware. This 842 score up here, 1904, is after my version of RetroPie Supreme Ultra was updated with the latest kernel and latest versions. If it was hardware related, then we would have got 842 right out of the box. and not 322, 906. This is just more proof to show you that every time you run a bench test or every time that you run any form of test on a single board computer is left up to the kernel or is left up to the OS. I didn't add more memory to it. We didn't add a resistor. We didn't take away. We didn't add another capacitor to it or another pin to the GPIO. This is strictly right out of the box. Your common numbers for a Raspberry Pi 5 would still run you at somewhere like 744, 800, something of the sort. We got some more numbers down here, 870, 883. So this 300 number just right out of the box was entirely unrealistic. Right out of the box. So because the kernel was not updated, it gave me a really low score.
Well, what's interesting is the 3 tests that you ran, looks like it got the architect wrong. It says 886 there, and I'm like,
yeah, it says x64, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so there it is, Raspberry Pi 5 Model B revision 1.1. I was running Debian 12, but again, the whole point being is if the board is the board and the performance is the board, the numbers would never change.
And what did you tweak to get better performance?
You mean the 842?
Yeah.
Updated the kernel.
And I assume now you're running like 6.1 something.
Right.
Okay.
Because Supreme Ultra is modified. But again, this goes back to the point where the board is the board. It's the same hardware. It's the same, board. Like the Orange Pi 5, like, you see all these drastic numbers down here, like 873, 886, 865. These numbers are well within each other. But even again, when I ran my test with the Orange Pi 5 a while back, you got a 695 4 score here, but then down here you get an 843. So where was the drop off? Well, it was the OS. I think we're using 2 different bases here. So moral of the story is, again, now you see why I don't typically just trust these numbers, because we're not changing out any parts on the equipment. All we're doing is changing out is Armbian, is it Debian, is it Ubuntu, is it Windows 11 ARM? What are you running? So these drastic numbers here and these changes show that it's more or less whatever we're loading on it and not inherently the hardware itself.
So let me ask you this: someone who you've been writing emulations for years, what do you prefer for your base OS? Do you prefer Debian or Ubuntu to do it? Because I know a lot of developers, they like Ubuntu to set that as their the base, and then they build on it.
If it depends. If you're using retro gaming or gaming, I would go with Armbian or Debian. If you're using it Orange Pi, I would go with Armbian, of course, obviously. Armbian, Jammy. Armbian, they give you the highest numbers here. As you can see at the very bottom, this is all Armbian based stuff here. For retro gaming, I would stay away from Ubuntu. Ubuntu is good as a desktop. We kind of see Ubuntu as the Windows version of the ARM-based world because it uses more resources. I think Ubuntu uses about 3.5 gigabytes of RAM just to even launch. So, I mean, it's good as a desktop environment. It is good for what it is. But if you're trying to get better cost to performance, you want to use something that has lower resources. So like Armbian or Debian will probably use like maybe 2 gigs of RAM, just as the base. And then you can run directly off of that.
Interesting. That's kind of cool to know. Okay. I have
that's why if you notice most reviewers, and my methodology is if you're trying to do gaming or something with a single board computer, and maybe you share this too, you really can't review a lot of these boards unless you have proper development first. Because what are you reviewing if you don't have the drivers loaded, if something's not optimized to work with it? And that's why you see a lot of content creators strictly running desktop trying to do emulation, is because they don't know how to build a good base.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that, because a a lot of people, when they start developing a new board, the first thing they grab is Lernaro,
Uh-huh.
which is great because it has essentially a bastardized kernel that's more or less meant for Android, but they can get it onto a system quick and easy, and they get it up and running. The only problem is because it's a bastardized Android version, you tend to have a file system that looks like Android, and that doesn't leave a lot of room when you're trying to install stuff, and suddenly you're seeing stuff was you're running out of disk space because essentially, you know, um, the SD card or eMMC, whatever you're using for storage,
Right.
okay, didn't get set up correctly because there's a lot of not utilized space. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And then my other thing I've always complained about is, look, Ubuntu's great. It's done a lot for the Linux world, but GNOME is such. You're right. GNOME is such a resource hog. That's why um, even where I work now, I got people agreeing with me. If I have to run Ubuntu, I'll do Xubuntu, which is XFace 4,
Mm-hmm.
just because one, the interface for someone who's never been on Linux is Mac-like,
Uh-huh.
and they can use it. And two, it just doesn't kill the whatever you're trying to do with resources.
Right.
Um, you know, years ago when GNOME 3 was around, I
Right.
loved it. It was
Mm.
very useful. And then when they went to GNOME 4, then Unity, I get what they're trying to do. And if a lot of people, you're welcome to disagree with me, but they decided to do what Microsoft couldn't for, I don't remember if you remember Windows 8.1, what
Yeah, I
they
remember that.
called Metro.
Okay.
That was going to be a one UI. And what is a one UI? It's one that you can develop on, get it working. So if you're on a tablet, a phone, they were planning to put it on Xbox,
Mm.
okay, and desktops. It would all be the same UI, user interface.
Okay.
But it the change was so radical for people, they freaked out. It's like, okay, this looks great, but where's my start button? Well, you don't have a
Mm.
start button. You have this beautiful, screen where you could touch stuff and all that. And
Right.
that's kind of what wanted. GNOME is trying to do. They want to have a one UI. So if you have a phone, a tablet, a PC, it's all the same, and you can
Mm.
do stuff on the same. But we've gotten to the point where we like multiple windows.
Right. Right. Right.
I probably right now, well, no, because I'm recording with you, I only have two things up and running, two browsers. Okay.
Mm.
But normally I'll have five or six different applications. I have two monitors. Okay. And I'm constantly going back to between all of them. So, yeah. But no on small board computers because here's the other thing, and we've discussed this in the past. Why is it when they release a new board,
Mm-hmm.
it's always 2 gigs the first model? What can you run on 2 gigs nowadays?
Nothing really. Well, Pi OS uses 700 megs, so I know Pi OS will work.
Yeah, but it's stripped down, and I was surprised that um, Raspberry kept the 2 gig model. I understood why they finally killed the 1 gig model, but they kept the 2 gig model. And this is something me and you agree upon. The 4 gig model is probably the sweet board with all these boards that they develop because it's got just enough to run the OS and maybe one or two applications, and price range it's great. 8 gigs, not bad, but
Well, right when they developed the 4 gigabyte, it's enough to run their OS. It's not even enough to run Ubuntu. You run a few applications on Ubuntu or whatever, you're already crashing.
yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's segue. Speaking of Ubuntu, all right. So let's do a quick recap. So, all right, guys. Months ago, there was a developer. His first name's Josh, and he had been developing Ubuntu for the RockChip. And one day he decided to go ahead and announce that he was no longer going to do it because, unfortunately, with like a lot of stuff, when you start developing and releasing things, you tend to become not only the developer, you also become the people doing all the support.
Yep.
And after a while, it burns you out. Now, first, RockChip lost Josh in Ubuntu. And then shortly after that, RockChip announced that they were going to be limiting the sale of the RockChips to developing boards. Now, I did try to get, um, I'm good friends with Da. Da is the creator of Libre computer boards. He's an awesome
Okay.
guy. I really love his boards. Um, in fact, when I started streaming 2 years ago, Da tore into me because unfortunately I was reviewing a Renegade board and he
Uh-oh.
told me that I tended to repeat myself and didn't get to the point. So I
Mm.
appreciate him, but I did try to get him on tonight. He did say he'll try to come on another night. So the history, or not the history, the situation right now with RockChip is unclear. We don't have Ubuntu. Do you see that as a loss for ARM? And it's not. Let me explain something. It's not just RockChip. I believe it's all of ARM. Correct me if I'm
Right.
wrong, Keo. It's all of ARM because he quit and there's really no more Ubuntu for ARM. Or am I wrong there?
As far as I know, it's RockChip. I don't know if it's all of ARM. I know
Okay.
he was working on Ubuntu, but regardless, it's still a loss for the community,
Yep.
especially a loss for companies. Because I was talking to some other gaming fellows, and they borrow from his work too, uh, who I never would have thought borrowed his kind of work. And if you guys don't know this, a lot of free work that community members put up kind of put things in perspective. Joshua in all devs, when you go to GitHub, they buy space. I think it's up to 3 gigs, and the rest of it, we're paying for people to have support. We're paying for people to make money off of our creation. Then we're paying for money for equipment to buy boards, buy hard drives to back up the work. And then out of our own personal time, we are a customer service for the entire community. And in some cases, companies would take that work, like Joshua, apply it to their own projects, which they are reselling and making money off of somebody else's work, which is understandable. But people are making money reselling, adding different applications off of somebody else's work. And so when you're paying out of pocket for this equipment, the companies aren't sending you free equipment. You got to buy your own drives. It really starts to exhaust you, especially in the past. I would probably say TerrorPUP the past 2 years, we've seen an explosion of single board computers. And in most cases, like for example, the Orange Pi 5, the Orange Pi company, they have released like what 6 or 7 different variants in like a year and a half.
Oh yeah,
So
and it's pretty much the RK3588 is the one that they really love to put on these boards.
yeah,
And you're exactly right. That's why I've been kind of concerned.
yeah. So you figure it burns out developers trying to provide support for all of these different boards. I mean, imagine if a company releases 50 boards in a month. Well, you got people trying to provide support for it, and then you got to modify everything and then buy 2 terabyte or 20 terabyte drives, which cost $300 a piece, just to support it. And none of this is backed by any of the companies.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to be discussing this later, but let me show you guys out in the audience what Keo's talking about when you buying equipment for development. Okay. Yeah, it's a mess, but most developers in their house have similar setups like this where they buy servers so that they can do CI/CD, you know, continuous integration, continuous development, and you're constantly adding. I mean, Keo, let me ask you this, because you do Supreme, Supreme Retro. How much storage? Okay, let's take a step back. First of all, how many NASs do you have running in your house right now?
Uh, right now, I only have one.
One, and how much storage is on it?
Well, that one only is only 8 terabytes, but I've got
Oh,
yeah, it's a small one. Yeah.
I you know what? I don't. You're gonna make me sound like a show off because I have close to 50 terabytes in my house.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, well, that's just in my NAS. And my computers alone, I have probably over in one computer because I put up most of my drives in the computer. So,
Okay.
yeah, most of my drive I probably have over 70 terabytes in one computer.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So, a lot of developers they have that so that they can one store it because if you store it locally, you have control over it. When you put it up in the cloud, you like Keo was saying, you have to start paying. Now, picture this, okay? Um, when you're doing this stuff, uh, one of the things that people don't understand is, you know, I I have a GitHub um, area, but I don't post a lot up there. But when you have something like that, there is an area called issues.
Right.
Okay. And on the issues page, okay, um, people will start opening up stuff and they start expecting you to fix things.
Oh
Um,
no.
And then, after a while, if you're appreciating people because one, they're using your work and they're reporting bugs.
Hmm.
But when you're sitting there constantly fixing issues all the time, you can't develop anything really new because now you're not only the developer, you're now the support person.
Yep.
So it really takes away from you. Um, okay, Supreme Retro, it's not just you, right? You do have a team, and are you guys divided up as like, okay, we're developers and you guys are support, and maybe one guy or the community is QC, or how are you guys doing it so you're not burnt out?
So the Supreme Team is its own separate group and affiliation of a team of guys, and I'm more or less just showcasing, configuring, making sure it works, testing, supporting, equipment, stuff like that. So yeah, but I provide QC, quality assurance, questions, customer service, and that's pretty much where the burnout is, especially with all these new single board computers and people asking questions. A lot of this for image makers like myself and builders, we could make something and then toss it out there, but it comes down to all these questions like SD cards or how come this controller is not working, and we don't have access to all of this. Then you're not going to test all of it, and then uh, I don't get stock dividends from ARM or Orange Pi or Raspberry Pi. And so, we buy this stuff out of our own pocket. Now I have supporters that definitely helps out with that, thank goodness. But all the work, the labor of love, the questions, that comes from community members. And we're buying equipment, and people think a lot of this stuff is free. Like when they talk about where are the free images and stuff, and I'm like, when I spend $600 on a couple of 20 terabyte drives, this ain't free.
Well, have you ever had any of the small board communities say, "Hey, if we send you a couple boards, would you develop your application on them?" Or has it more or less been, silence from them?
I mean, I've reached out to, I don't mind mentioning their names because I love the companies like Ratsa. They sent some equipment over. Thank goodness. It wasn't like, hey, develop something. It was just like showcase your work, and I told them who I was, showed them the Facebook group affiliations and stuff. They sent it over and do some reviews. But no company has actually sent equipment over for the purpose of review. I mean, for I would say the purpose is for development. So yeah, not even Raspberry Pi, anything. All my boards from Raspberry Pi, except one occasion. I know Micro Center gave me a board, which was the Raspberry Pi 02W. I think that was back
Wow.
in 2021. They gave me a little, board because I know the contacts over there. So that was the only time I was actually just really given a single board computer other than Ratsa when they sent over a few units for review.
All right. Yeah, I figured I'd ask because I know um, I've always wondered, because we've talked again in previous conversations where you get a new board, there's not a lot of support. So I know I'd like to see more small board people reach out and send out boards and say, "Hey, can you help us develop this?" I think if they would do that for people that are like a Josh who's helping them write an OS,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that helps them out. Or even
Yeah.
too, it's like, hey, look, we appreciate what you're doing. We can't give you like a steady paycheck, but
Right.
here's a little we'll contribute if you keep continuing doing it, because I do see a lot of companies, they go out there, they find stuff and they'll grab it and they'll use it. And
Right.
suddenly, like your point, we'll pick on Orange Pie for a minute, right? They release a new board, and when you go up to their page, you'll see like the dev kit, and you're like, oh, that's cool,
Right.
okay. And then when you see OSs that they've kind of utilized,
Right.
okay, I'll be honest with you, when the Orange Pi 5 came out and I went up there, I saw Ubuntu and I was like, yeah, I figured that would be there. I saw Debian and I'm like, okay.
Right.
But when I saw Manjaro, and I think they're called Bread OS now. Um, Back in the day, it was called React OS, but there was just more than the normal Ubuntu and Debian. There were other versions on there. I was very surprised, um, because either the people in the community said, "Hey, we want to port our stuff over there," or the
Right.
developers went and grabbed it and changed it. Now, supposedly, with the latest versions of ARM Linux versions, if you switch out the DTS in the bootloader, you should be able to get stuff up and running as long as you're utilizing the same code. Now, I got a video coming out. I want to show this off real quick.
Oh, nice.
This is a RISC-V.
Okay.
Banana Pie was nice enough to send this over, so they're kind of sponsoring me on this. They don't get a say in what I do, and they've never have. But why I'm excited about this one?
Why is that?
I'm running OpenSUSE on this.
Oh,
Okay.
sweet.
Yeah. Now, I've been a member of OpenSUSE for a long time. I'm actually running for the board. If I get it, it'd be nice. But it was refreshing because normally I'll grab Armbian. I love Armbian. I love the work Igor and his team do. But when I saw that OpenSUSE was there, it's like, I'm going to grab that because one, it's a new chip, right? And
Right.
two, it's something that I'm familiar with. And believe it or not, I started going through it and it's like, oh, this is cool. Okay, let me get XRDP working on it. Okay, I got to go tweak this. And all right, so they're using LXQT, which is a lightweight version of KDE, and wasn't too thrilled with it. So I put XFace on it and
Mm-hmm.
modify my XRDP so I could go into it, and it's working great. And that's a 2 gig model,
And how much
and
does that board cost?
I need to go look that up. Okay, I really do. But if you're going to get it, I would get the 4 gig here while we're doing that. But like I said, they sent it to me, and it's one of the, we talk about new boards and new support. I was, again, very, very surprised that the amount of support, and I think it's because there is a move, and I don't know if you've worked on any RISC-V boards to get emulation on that, but it looks like, and I'm wondering if it's how ARM, because you keep reading that they tend to be a little bit nasty with their licensing.
Okay.
If the move to RISC is because, one, it's an open source CPU, and you don't have to pay ARM a license fee to create a new chip. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see that video. Love to see the performance on it.
Well, the first video is just me getting it up and running and showing that OpenSUSE is running on it. I'm trying to get something like Geekbench working on it and some other utilities. Okay, it looks like the 2 gig model. Oh no, man. Hell, if this is the cost, I might buy this board and replace the 2 gig that they sent me. No, 2 gig is $66 with 8 gigs of EMC, and that's what I got. But
Okay,
you can get
bad.
$160 bucks for the 16 gig and 128 gigs of eMMC. But again, it was nice to see something other than Ubuntu and Debian on that, and I was like, this is really cool. So, but yeah, where do you see RockChip in a year? Do you see it slowing down? I was thinking.
RockChip.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know RockChip. Didn't they partner up with some other company called Open something or whatever? I can't think of the exact name of the company. The developers that's going to really be supporting it. There was a company that they partnered up with. That's pretty much going to kind of save them. I guess they're going to provide rock chips to directly, something to that effect.
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, I saw a post about it a while back, but I think what the company should do is provide more or less storage space for developers. The cost of development, storage space, and time is going to far outweigh the cost of the board. Even if a company sent you a $200 board, you're going to be paying to back up your work locally and on the cloud. So, for example, even some of the other, Supreme Team members, I've bought 20 terabytes that cost $300, and then you figure what a board costs $50, and then of course a monthly charge for GitHub, and then seed boxes and everything else. That cost is going to eat away. Is going to have more of an impact on you than the cost of the equipment of the standard board itself. Because in most cases, remember, these devs are supporting things or projects for 5 or 6 years. Creating drivers, creating improvements to it, expanding upon. So it's not just the board itself. Most of this, all of this, ends up becoming their own personal work that they have to back up. It's not like, hey, screw this company, we're tired of them. No, that's their personal work. And then providing customer service for it. And then you still have people, like even now, look for Raspberry Pi 2 and Raspberry Pi 3 B+ images.
Yep. Well, no one's updated Wikipedia because that was the only thing that came up, and I didn't see anything there. So we'll have to find it and bring it up again later. Okay, but I do know that one of the craziest, and I'd really want to go around and see if it's true, is part of the reason I heard the embargo and the reason that they were going to start slowing down like production was supposedly drones in Russia were showing up with RockChip processors in it, and I was like, okay, that's not our fault.
Yeah,
Fault.
Yeah, that's not a good advertisement, but yeah, they put the technology out there. Anybody could use it.
But I'm on their official webpage. Give me 1 second. No, just that they won an award. And that they're talking about reviving the BlackBerry.
Oh Lord, I thought that company was RIM was defunct. I didn't think they were around anymore.
Well, one of the news items is Swisscore Micro Arcade 3538, one core multi screen high end cockpit area control panel, reviving the 24 BlackBerry QX meeting. So I guess that's a device that they're talking about um, renewing. But there's nothing on their page. So we'll just have to keep an eye out on that. But hopefully, maybe there's a benefit from this, Kia. Maybe now we won't have to have 6 of the same board with just one or two features released in a given year. Okay,
Yeah.
because I tried to keep up with Orange Pi. I have an Orange Pi 5. I have an Orange Pi 5B. I have an Orange Pi 5 Plus. I have an Orange Pi. No. That, that's a
Yeah.
Ratsa. I have a Ratsa A, a Ratsa 5B, and maybe a Ratsa Plus. But anyway, they're Ratsa and both Orange Pi. They released multiple boards that were more or less with the same CPU. Only difference is like like okay, we're gonna have 2 outputs, 1 input. Um, I never really got the input working, because they were talking about you could do OBS and having a video come in, screen input.
Mhm.
But the only thing I can say I was impressed with both Rats and Orange Pi is the fact that you got boards with 32 gigs of memory.
Right.
I'm wondering if Raspberry Pi is going to go up to that. I mean, how shocked were you that Raspberry Pi released a 16 gig board?
I was really shocked. I think it would have been a better idea for them to ditch the 2 and the 4 and then just go with an 8 and a 16 if that was the case.
Okay.
If you're just really going to put some boards out there, just ditch the 2. I thought 4 was too small. I think they should have just went with an 8 and a 16 and just kind of kept it at that.
Cool.
Or if worst case scenario, go with a 2, a 8, and a 16, but not have 4 different type, 4 memory selections. Just go with your 2, which is going to be your very low end, and then go to 8 because the 4 you still need a little bit more juice to run some stuff, and then go to the 16.
Well,
And if
no, I'm listening to you. I'm grabbing a couple things because, believe it or not, the shelf over here I got like a ton
yeah,
of.
but yeah, in regards to these companies releasing these single board computers, I don't think anybody is as notorious as Orange Pi. With the Orange Pi 5, 5B, Max, the Plus, Super Max, Super Double Extra, and it's my understanding that yeah, you could change those DTB files, those DTS or DTB files on there. But at the same time, when I make video reviews or where people ask me questions, I'm a tester. I can't verify anything or give a stamp of approval until I actually test it. And that's the one of the case. I mean, it's very easy to say, yeah, hey, just change the files on it or whatever. But when you're making images or releasing things to a mass group of people have questions. You always just have to buy the equipment just to test it. And in some cases, like for me, it could be a one-time use. So let's say if I bought the Max or whatever, and let's say it was $127, I may use it once or twice, and that would be the end of it. And then just to provide support and tell people, yeah, go ahead, it's the same thing. But after that, it just goes in a box. Now I
And by
was happy.
oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was
Yeah,
going
I
to just.
was happy that Ratsa released the cheapest version of the RK3588, which was the Rock 5, the Radisson 5C, which I haven't uploaded my video on. But I was really happy about that because that was the lowest, most affordable variant of the RK3588 to date at $60.
By the way, I haven't heard of this one, but apparently now there's the Orange Pi 5 Ultra, which looks more like an.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
No, I'm on their webpage.
Oh, Lord.
Because last I heard was the Max. And to me, there, if you look at the pictures, there's not much difference between a Max and an Ultra, except the little stamp on the board. So yes, they have released yet another board. But
I hope you're joking.
No, I'm not, man. I wish I could make this up, but yeah. So
Oh my god. So they got a Ultra and a RV. A Risk. Risk R5. Let's see. Oh my god.
yeah, the RV, because again, a lot of people are going to Risk, and I thought I saw somewhere, and I don't know who released it, but I could have swore somebody released a Raspberry, or sorry, not a Raspberry, a RockChip ITX motherboard. Was that Ratsa that did it?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure which company that was.
Here, hold on.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna share it. Let me go to.
Board.
Yeah, I know. Crazy, huh? Because here we are talking about Orange Pi releasing, multiple boards, and sure enough, here they go. All right.
So it looks like, did Orange Pi ditch the USB-C connection? No, they still have it for power. Looks like they have two HDMIs. Oh my god, I cannot believe this.
And guys, I'm going to share out the web page real quick so you guys can see what we're looking at. Okay.
Oh my god, I cannot believe this. Yeah, I'm reading it here, guys. This is Orange Pi 5 Ultra. Oh my god.
All right.
You know, when they came out with the 5B, I blasted them on their Facebook group.
You did?
Yeah. I typed it in all caps too, man. Because we spent time on development. You know, you had the Raspberry Pi 5, I mean not Raspberry. You had the Orange Pi 5 come out, right? You spend all these months trying to get it started. Then they released the 5B and it had built-in Wi-Fi instead of having to buy some stupid adapter. So they had built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And then you have to make sure you test for consistency. It's not always a guarantee that just because they come out with something that looks like the same model type, but increased RAM or whatever the case might be, that it's not going to boot. So you spend a lot of time in development to make sure you test for consistency. Like we work on the Raspberry Pi 5, for example, Raspberry Pi 4. You got a couple of boards out there, right? You got a couple of them. But when they start tossing you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boards, you have to buy additional hard drives eventually to back up a lot of this stuff and then explain it to people and then test for consistency.
So
it's a big headache.
Yeah, so the Orange Pi 5 Ultra, I don't know why you call this Ultra because 6 tops, okay, 468 gigs of LPDDR4 with one HDMI 2. Okay, so they have an why are they doing this? They have RT, which is received, TX is out. So you have an HDMI in on this board and out. But the one thing that looks like it's lacking, let me go see if I can find a picture of the undercarriage. Okay, that's it right there. So the Ultra has can receive and output, and the Max looks like it has 2 HDMI out. All right, the bottom view, M key, NVMe. Looks like
You,
it's a full.
you know what it is. This company has to sell boards in order to stay afloat. They have to. They're not spending any time in development like the Raspberry Pi organization. So they have to push hardware to stay relevant. They have to push hardware to stay in the mix.
Well, all right, let's go. Let me change views real quick. So yeah, that's their newest. And this, I just want to take a quick look. 1 second. Go look at Ratsa because I could have swore Ratsa actually released
Well,
a
Ratsa first had the Rock 5B, which was the alternative to this one. Then they came out with
you mean this?
which one is that? Rock 5B? Yeah,
That's the
they
Rock
had that
5B.
one. Yeah, that was their first version of the Arcade 3588. And then they came out with the Ratsa Rock 5C, which is the one I have, and then you also have the Rock 5C Lite. So at least they kept theirs to three different models. And again, unlike Orange Pi, I totally understood why they would come out with the Rock 5C because it was cheaper in value. You still had your Ratsa, or not your Ratsa, but you still had your Rock 5B, which was $169 on their single board computer. And then the Orange Pi 5 was still like $127 or whatever, or $100. So yeah, I mean it made sense from a business perspective to introduce a cheaper chipset, but you still pretty much get the same power.
I was right. So if you look at the screen real quick,
Yeah, I see.
Ratsa did release an ITX with the rock chip on it. I think that's the first board I ever seen, dude, that has it. Okay,
Nice.
I might get one of these. Get it with 32 gigs just to see running. And I'll need to find a decent case for it because ITX. Hopefully, it'll fit a generic one. But
Yep.
they have two versions of it. They have the ITX Plus or the ITX regular, and um, NVMe versus SATA. You can get SSDs that are pretty good. No, there's SATA. There's NVMe over here. So
Okay. I'm
I
trying to
mean
see.
that's it's pretty cool, dude. But yeah, that's why you have two companies, okay, that really pushed the rock chips. A lot of other companies are still pushing all winner or AM Logic, but between Ratsa and Orange Pi, they were like the people to do it. Huh.
Yeah. And now you have
They're,
UE too. They're in the mix now with their boards.
yeah, that's true. That's true. In fact, if I ever can afford it, I'd really want to get the R1 version 3.
Okay.
Just to see, because supposedly it's better. So we'll see. Yeah, yeah. You know what? Now, here's one thing that Ratsa does and Orange Pi does that I don't like.
Okay.
Um, you have to get their wireless module. How
Which one?
much?
You talking about that Ratsa wireless module, the A8?
Yeah,
Now you know what? Ironically, those are universal. Those are not. I think a few of them they make them, but it's not Ratsa specific because I was able to
it's real
download
tech, right?
drivers. It's real tech, but you can pretty much get them from another company. They're generic wireless modules.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wish they would build it onto the board because a wireless chip. If you ever looked at a board, it's not very big. Okay,
Right.
so it'd be pretty cool. It'd also be kind of cool about this. Okay, this is just me thinking. Why couldn't they release the ITX board and make it a CM module compatible so that way you could put it on there, right? The CM
Mm-hmm.
modules could power it and do all the work. And then if you want it to upgrade, you don't have to go buy a new board, right? You just go buy a new CM module and pop it on there. I kind of wish they would do that. Okay.
Right.
But all right. Well, anything else about RockChip?
Uh, I think that's about it. I know that there's a arcade company coming out, or they've been around. If you heard of GRS, Viper board with Glenn Palamento, he's an arcade enthusiast. He makes a few units. His new arcade cabinet is going to be powered using a rock chip, so we'll have to see how that goes. Considering there's a lack of support now in that area.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know about you. This is why I asked if we could do this discussion, because I know you've recently been working on upgrading your home lab. I'm kind of jealous because you got fiber. Um, I could get fiber where I'm at, but I'm just going to leave it that the only people right now in my neighborhood who have fiber is an evil monopoly company that's been broken up by the government several times.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have servers, I always have to get a business account. I'm with Comcast right now, and I've been happy with it. I've been using them now close to 18 years,
Mm.
and hell, they just upgraded my speed. I don't have the speed like you, but they upgraded it. I was in a year contract for 300. They went ahead and bumped me up to 500 for free, and they're doing that because the other company laid fiber out in this area, and you can get 1 gig asynchronous, up and down, which is phenomenal. Um, you know, for I don't know if you know this, but United States is internet poor. You
Right.
go to countries like Japan, Korea, even in Europe, there's
Netherlands.
Netherlands, yeah, their speeds are so much better than ours, and they don't pay the outrageous fees that we pay.
Right.
And I just never could understand it. We're getting there, but I think now, other places they're still faster than us. But um, I'm seeing it in the near future. A couple things I'm seeing: cable companies are going to die out. Programming as we know it is going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Streaming will continue to go on, but there are streaming companies that are going to replace cable companies. Okay.
Are you talking about
And
cable TV, or are you talking about cable internet, or their whole infrastructure?
cable TV.
Right.
Okay. And then home labbers, people doing like what me and you do, are going to increase because people are going to have the speed, right? It's like,
Yep.
why do I need to go to the cloud when I have,
Yeah, your own data server now. Yeah.
yeah, and of course, companies are going to come around and tell people, well, you can't do that because you don't have a business account, and they're going to block them. Okay. But I do see a growth with the internet speed and things like that. So I wanted to do some comparisons of our home networks. Okay, and I'll go first, just because I can't go to my. I was going to do a live shot in my office, but I do have photos. Okay,
All right.
so I'll share my screen real quick.
Yeah, the one thing that I've been saying for the past few weeks though is some of these internet providers. It really makes me wonder what their thinking is because you go into any of these stores, you go buy a new cable modem. All of the cable modems promise you or can advertise up to 3.5 to about 4.5 gigabytes of download speed. And no cable provider offers that. Like the equipment that we've had for the past 8 or 9 years for cable modems have far surpassed what your typical internet connection can do. And it's just unreal because I had stopped buying cable modems a long time ago, and I'm glad that companies now provide the equipment. But it really makes no sense to upgrade or buy a cable modem when your internet provider can't even reach those speeds, upload or download.
Well, I wonder if they're doing that because they don't sell just here in the United States. It's easy to swap out plugs so you can use them overseas because a lot of people don't realize this. Like on the back of our PCs,
Right.
there's a little dip switch from 110 to 220. And all you got to do is flip it and get the correct plug, and you still can uprun it. The only time you're going to have problems, though, is like, excuse me, video, unless that's got corrected. Like I took an Atari ST with me in Japan, and
Hmm.
even though it's uh, NCST, okay,
Right.
and same plugs. Japan is on a um, 50 megahertz cycle. The United States is on a 60 megahertz cycle. So I could use the PC, but my screen would do these flips like this because,
Mm.
it wasn't getting enough power like it needed. And you could buy adapters and do it. But no, I really wonder that because, you know, with everything that's, with the speed and all that, I'm just wondering where we're going with it. I have a couple concerns, okay? And
Right.
this is just me with my, hackers mentality. Home automation is becoming a big deal. Do you do anything in your house with automation out of
Not really.
curiosity?
Not
Yeah.
really. I kind of gave up on the whole networking thing because, I know that you can have a fast internet locally in your house, but it's like, if I can't download those, those speeds and stuff, uh, it, it's kind of like, well, what's the point?
So I okay. Um, the people that own this house finally last year, um, actually not last year, it was the year before that, finally replaced the air conditioning. And
Hmm.
I was so happy. And I got a new thermostat, and it is internet controlled. Okay.
Right.
Um, I'm like, okay, that it's kind of cool because it goes out and it gets the weather, and I can see like if storms are coming, and if I'm at the office, and okay, let's say I set the thermostat down to 62 because I'm not there,
Right.
and the dogs are in their kennel. Um, but an hour before I get home, right, I go ahead and set it up to 68. Okay. Um, who's stopping from someone else getting into that? And of course,
Right.
you got um, you know these hot plugs that you can use to turn on stuff. Control. Google with their Nest products. They want you to work on that. Amazon has centrals
Hmm.
with these higher speeds. Um, when is it? When are we going to have problems with like your electric company going like, oh, we detect that you have stuff like this, and they figure out a way to get into the back doors and can, oh wow, this guy's utilizing a lot of electricity. What is he running? Okay.
I don't think they'll ever do that because if that was the case, they would have went after Tesla. Going after people with all these electric cars because that pulls more power than anything.
Well, you know, I heard there was an OLD because mm, I'm not sure why I'm not able to pronounce it right now, but an O tactic where they would determine if you were a growth house is by how much electricity you're running and how much heat was coming out of your house.
Mm.
Um, Now I joke about this because if you see the picture I'm sharing out right now,
Right.
um, my gas right now. Um, Now today was a warm day. It was nice. We got up to 55. It
Mm,
beats the earlier in the week when we were in the 20s, and at night it was in the 10s. Okay.
right.
It was nice. And sitting in my office, like for the last month, I have not been in this area. This is my little recording desk area. I actually been at the in my office working there because it's warm.
Right.
Those bare metal machines, they all have like dual 700-watt power supplies, and it puts off some heat. So, part of the reason I'm rebuilding my home lab, okay, is those three big servers at the bottom, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I want to shut them down during the summertime so that it's cooler. So, I posted the one picture, and I'm going to change screens real quick.
What's the model
So,
number on those servers you're running?
so the top one is it's an HP 360 Gen 8, or no, actually Gen 7. Okay, so it's relatively old, but what's nice about it is it does have 16 cores. So it has two CPUs, both with eight, no hyper threading going on. So it's 16 cores altogether. And, that one I'm going to be rebuilding into uh, a Kubernetes server. Okay. The one
Okay.
below it is a Dell R620. I'm gonna see if I can replace this one. Memory wise, the HP has 76 gigs of memory, or no, sorry, 64 gigs of memory. The Dell, part of the reason I want to get rid of it is it only has four cores,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, it's got close to 72 gigs of memory.
Okay.
But because of the number of cores, it's not. I could do one or two things with this. I could take out all four of the 3.5 hard drives in there,
Right.
go see if I can get some renewed, you know, 24 terabyte hard drives, because the bays on that one is 3.5 inches,
Okay.
and build a real nice NAS server. Okay.
Right. Right. Right.
Right now, it's one of my virtual servers. Okay. Now, the ones underneath those, they're not model numbers on it. And you'll understand this if you've ever dealt with Supermicro. They are Supermicro machines. um, the top one was an XI um, system. It actually, we bought it running TrueNAS.
Mm-hmm.
I replaced the motherboard out of it because the one that was in there, um, the USB, the guy who worked before me at this company broke off on the USB things in the back,
Uh-huh.
and it was a pain in the butt. It's 12 slots, and then the two up underneath it, those are 8 slots. Okay, and they have a real low powered CPU on it. They're all Xeon CPUs. Uh,
So when you use your servers, primarily, what are you backing up though?
I'm not backing up anything. I'm running a lot of virtualization in Docker.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Um, so the one that we were, that I did the video about rebuilding, it was this one. And then, believe it or not, these uh, 6 hard drives here, that's the virtualization. And then over here, this is TrueNAS. Okay.
Right.
So it's been pretty cool. I'm going to be rebuilding this one on the bottom. I've shut it down. And like I said, I'm going to switch screens real quick. 1 second.
Yeah, I'm going to eventually get one of those. I got my eye on one of them. I have to pull it up. It costs like $500, almost six. It's a, I think it's a 4-bay diskless server rack.
Hmm.
I was going to fill that up. So because it has 10 gigabit capable, it has a 10 gigabit Ethernet adapter on it. So may have to make the investment on that, and throw a few 20s in there.
Well, I've been real lucky. Everything that you see in front of you, okay, in my rack was donated to me. All
Right.
right. So I got real lucky. Now, before I bring up the screen, let me show some. In the back here, you see this uh, looks like a black tower with two hard drives hanging off to the side. This is a just a bunch of discs. It's a rack I bought at Micro Center like 10 years ago. They don't even make this one anymore, and I wish they did because it came with a fan and a place where you could plug in a power supply, and it works out great. I did a video where I upgraded it. This is actually tied into this one in the bottom. So, all right, I'm going to switch over and show
That's a
you
nice,
real.
cool rack you have, though.
Thank you. I had a customer who decided he was going to retire, and he goes, I would like you to house this equipment. You can house it for 2 years, and then once you 2 years are over, it's yours to deal with. And I did it. I had it. I was still doing his backups like it was in his office, and then he reached out and said, "All right," and I did rebuild it. So the two in the bottom were his servers, with all his records and stuff like that, and I upgraded it.
Right.
I'm now, Kia, I'm just going to give you fair warning. If you see something on the market that is a super micro, just be prepared to spend a little bit more upgrading them, because super micro, they're very generic machines, but they're very proprietary on what you can put into them.
Okay.
Okay, so this fair warning. All right, so on the screen right now, that's the server I just rebuilt, and you can see it. I have a ton of verts over here. Okay, over on the left-hand side, the little green arrows are stuff that's up and running.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everything else is powered down, but this is kind of the stuff that I do. So, like, this is that NAS that I built. Okay,
Okay.
and I did give it a. So overall, this is one of the reasons I built it. It was a true NAS server.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the amount of memory in it and the number of cores, it just didn't make sense to run it as true NAS. Now, I could have run a bunch of verts on it,
Right.
but I really didn't want to. Um, so you see, I got 16 cores here. Okay. And I have, where's memory?
Oh, that's a nice little setup you got there.
Yeah. So it's quite a bit of memory in it, and it works out nice. So I, like I said, I went in, set it up where I have all these hard drives, and they're all 2 gigs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe down the road, I start buying, before they disappear, because the way technology moves nowadays, tomorrow we might turn around and there might not be any. Mechanical drives at the rate it's going. Okay.
No, they're still around. In fact, Seagate's coming out with a new 32 gigabyte or 32
Uh,
terabyte 32 terabyte drive.
how much is that? Like almost a grand?
No, I haven't seen a price on it, but I can't imagine it being. I mean, what, the 20 terabytes right now are like 300 to 400.
See, I really need to save up, because when you told me that, I was like, crap, I could take those 2 terabytes out, put 20 terabytes over on that one side,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I would be set for life. Because right now, if you're looking on the screen, I literally have 6 plus the 4 in Frankenstein. Well, and then 2 that I just wanted to see if they were good. I have 12 drives just going into it because I have a card. But yeah,
Yeah,
and believe it
yeah,
or
but
not,
you know what? It's worth it because when I deal with a lot of ROMs and images and other big files, multimedia creation, it's just best to have big space. So instead of you having to manage and then move stuff all over to different drives, so now I use one drive for music, I use another drive for media creation, I use another drive. It allows you to do that instead of just kind of adding a bunch of folders and then using that one drive for everything. It would be better to save you time and money. Is just start individualizing drives for specific uses.
no, I totally agree with you because even though this is my TrueNAS, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm actually using this as a storage point for the virtual server. Okay,
Mm,
so that I can right there, so that I
sweet.
can utilize the space. So, but it's it was interesting because I know you wanted me to talk about it a little bit, but getting it up and running was something different because I'm actually doing a what they call a pass through. Okay,
Okay.
the drives, if you notice, like here, let's go look at this. This is my mail server. Okay, if you look here, the hard drive, okay, doesn't say slash dev. It gives you like an LVM and a number, which it means it's a virtual drive. Okay,
Okay.
this these are all pass throughs. Okay, so let's say down the road, I don't know if you've seen other content creators talk about this, but you could get one of these machines, and if it had a PCI Express, 16, okay, and you could put in a Quattro or a nice, let's say you upgrade to the latest NVIDIA 5090, but
Okay.
now you have this, a 4000 series card lying around, but you don't want to get rid of it. You could go build you a cloud um, based gaming system for your, nephew and nieces that they could connect to it, and you would do a pass through of that graphics card to your virtual device that they could play on. That's how a
Mm,
lot of people are doing this stuff. Okay,
right.
so yeah, I'm not done, dude. I am. This right here, what you see, this is about a month and a half. I know when you ping me, I was like, yeah, let's wait a while. I've gotten this. I got everything moved over, everything rebuilt. A lot of the guests are turned off because I have to go back in and install software. And the last item I'm going to show you real quick because I'm pretty excited about this because I just got it done. It looks so much better. Okay. In fact, you
And
know,
how long did it take you to set up that rack?
the rack, oh, getting everything in it or just rebuilding just that one server?
Just getting everything in it.
Everything in it, because I had all the servers. I had a quarter rack that's sitting out in the garage. Um, it took me, and what you're seeing now is when I moved it, cleaned it up, and even though the wiring does not look like I cleaned up the wiring, it was much worse. Um, it took me probably a week. Okay.
Mm, okay.
All right. So we're back over here. Hold on for 1 second. All right. You've seen a bunch of the other content creators showing off. I wasn't one of the lucky ones to get this from DeskPi. I bought this myself. I did see it after watching one of the creators talk about it. And I actually took it to a Linux Expo, and a lot of people liked it. But when I took it, it was not very beautiful. I've done a lot of work to clean it up. Okay.
Right.
And so Banana Pie, you know, let me do some testing, and I did a couple videos on the R4. That's their router series, and that's a beautiful antenna or wireless router. What's cool about it is it's tri-band and probably a little bit overkill for this small rack, but during the summertime, dude, this is what uh, I'm going to be running instead of that big, um, all those big servers in the other rack because I want to, you know, whoop, I don't know, did I lose them?
Oh, I'm still here. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it shows you disconnected. Well, anyway, so yeah, but yeah, this is real beautiful. And believe it or not, I have a TrueNAS instance there. This is a fanless PC from CCWK,
Right.
and I really love that thing. Another DeskPi device. This is the Super 6 that has 6 CM4s, 3 Raspberry Pi CM4s, 1 Orange Pi CM4, and 2 Banana Pis. Now, the only thing that's not the same in here is this green little thing that's down there above the switch.
Okay.
That was my Ratsa X2L,
Mm.
and it died. I don't know why, but this is also the one where the battery, when I got it, purchased, the battery thing was broke, and I tried to hot glue it. So maybe that was an omen. And there's my Yuyi 2X1. But this, so I have replaced that with the B-Link. So I have 2 Proxmox servers over there on Intel, ARM, and then to the side, this is a UC Tronic desk rack. Pretty cool little rack. And I got 4 Libra Computer Renegades running in it. And yeah, I can. What's funny is with containers, okay, and virtualization,
Right.
I can run pretty much everything over here that I'm running in that big rack, okay?
Okay.
And I'm not using as much power and I'm not outputting the heat. Okay, the only thing I really lose during the summer months, but I've I got everything that I want. In fact, I'm actually one of those people that are getting back into physical media. Yeah, I ripped all the. You can see back over in the shelf behind it. One second. Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Um, I ripped all my DVDs and I put them on the storage, but you know, I would lose the storage and rip them again. I just got to the point. It's like, you know what? I'll just buy a DVD player and keep playing and things like that.
Right.
All right,
Well,
dude.
TerrorPUP.
Hold on.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I was gonna turn it over to you to share now.
Oh yeah, I don't have much to share. My camera's not working, and my stuff is in another room. But
Ah,
yeah, only thing I have is a Synology NOS. I have a Ubiquiti 10 port or 8 port 10 gigabit switch that I still need to order some SFP plus connectors for. So I'll probably order those here in the next few days. But other than that, my stuff is small. I keep most of my drives in my personal computer.
gotcha. How much development stuff do you do on your on all your hardware?
I would say quite a bit, but most of it's video editing. You know, when you're recording things and uploading in 4K, 60 frames, 4K, 10, 30 frames per second, that eats up a lot of space faster than anything. And then when I do a lot of work for Adobe After Effects, video editing, customizations, and animation for people, that eats up a lot of space too. And then, of course, all the gaming ROMs as well. That eats up a lot of space.
All right. This will be the last picture I'll show you because it's such a mess. It looks like a junk man. But part of my recording desk, we've been talking about pies and stuff. The stuff up top with the antenna going left to right, we have an Odroid M1.
Mm-hmm.
freaking one of the best things that Odroid has released, in my opinion. It was really nice. A That is a NVIDIA Jetson Nano. It's the 2 gig model. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty excited. I got that, and then I have another NAS. This is running Open Volt Media, and believe it or not, that's a Libra Renegade computer, 4 gig model, and it works out pretty decent. And then when you go down below,
Mm-hmm.
so I have another Odroid N2, not the N2 Plus. I was real mad. I bought it.
Right.
A week later, the N2 Plus came out. I'm like, yeah, it's one of the things I don't like about computers and cars, right? You wait to
Right.
go buy something. The minute you buy it, the new hotness comes out like right after it, and you regret, I should have waited. I should have waited. Well, if you keep waiting, you're always going to be waiting. Next to that is a gigabit brick. Um, it's an Intel Centron Dual. It's
Mm-hmm.
before they changed the Centron to the N number. Okay. It's
Right.
got a pretty life. And you're talking about ROMs and stuff like that. That's where there's a 1 terabyte drive I have hooked up to it where I have most of my stuff. And then below that, I have another NVIDIA um, Jetson Nano.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Speaking of
that's
which, do you have a Zima board?
Zima.
Yeah,
Yes.
Zima. Okay.
Yes. Hold on.
Yeah, a lot of guys want to start using that one for the server use.
All right. Um, yes. So I have two. So right here, um, okay, this one that you see next to the hard drive,
Right.
that's their 8 gig model, and I'm using it for as a Linux game server. I got it Minecraft, Java, Minecraft Bedrock, and Quake 2 and Team Fortress 2 running on that little area.
Now, is that
Uh,
the back of your unit or is that the front?
that's the front.
I like
Okay.
what you did with the shelves because most directions always tell you to install the shelves, on the back side, but you actually have your shelves right there on the front. I actually
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, thank you. And the reason I do that is so that I can get to it. Now, it's a little bit harder to see. Uh, there's a B link. This is a PF Sense, and then next to it is another Zima board. It's the 2 gig model.
Hmm.
Okay, and it is running um, PF Sense too because my network and how everything's set up. So yeah, I have two of those. They're not bad. Um, I actually kind of wanted to get a couple more, but I was like, okay, price wise, I'll be honest, they're great boards, but they're expensive
Right.
compared to Ratz's X2L or UE2's X1. Okay.
Yeah, I just happened to
Um,
pull up the Zima board cube. I was just curious to see what else they offer as an option. It has a 10 gigabit net port adapter, but they want $1,000 for this unit.
yeah, and I actually asked if I could review one of their cubes,
Hmm.
radio silent. Okay, because I really wanted to show that off because believe it or not, the highest video on my channel is when I talked about running PF Sense
Hmm.
on the Zemo board.
Right.
Okay, it's it's way up there, and I was just amazed that people are looking for it. Now, one of the things, let me see if I can find. Hold on.
Oh, TerrorPUP, check your messages over there too. Man, I gotta find out what the internet speed is on the Zima board again. It's been a
Which
while.
mess? Oh, okay. Well, if you need to go, we can wrap it up. I was only going to go to 11. Okay.
Okay.
About 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Because we've covered the 3 topics, and I take it you don't have anything else. In fact, if we could just wrap it up if you want. Okay.
Yeah, my camera's not working. I don't have my stuff fully set up yet.
Well, earlier when your PC booted, I don't know if it was yours, but I kept hearing like USB devices adding and disconnecting
Yeah,
and adding.
I think that was one of my external drives trying to connect and then finally connected. I don't know why I was doing that.
Yeah.
I got like a lot of stuff hooked up, so it does that occasionally.
Well, I'm lucky I grabbed you tonight. I am going to try to get Da, see if we can talk about more of this stuff. And I'm also glad I got you before the Super Bowl weekend, because I know that's going to be a weekend that it's going to be dead for doing a live cast.
Most definitely. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, let's do this then, guys. I appreciate Keo on there, and Keo, why don't you go ahead and put your channel into chat so people have it, okay? And just what do you got coming up that people should be aware of, okay?
I got my Pi 5 16 gigabyte video I need to put up. I got a bunch of emulation videos to upload, as well as other tech tutorials on products, Samsung TVs, other tech. I got the review of the Ratzer Rock 5C. Most of all this stuff I bought last year. It's just like I'm like 6 months backlog right now.
All right. And guys, all I got going on is I got 4 videos I need to finish up. I have the explaining the Super 6, what I'm actually running on it. I did a video last year where I put it together, but I'm showing people what I'm actually running it. Banana Pi's F3, and then the rebuild of my DeskPi T1. And there's one other one. Anyway, well, Keo, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime, man. And I appreciate when you had me on your channel. We need to, I don't know, pick a night and probably make this a regular thing. See if we can get more people up here and get some more discussions going on. All right.
Definitely, man.
All right. Well, guys, this is TerrorPUP. And as always, wishing you guys peace.
All right. Later, guys. Have a good night.